Love the Ravens as much as we do? Then smash that subscribe button and stay locked in with Flock News for all the drama, updates, and excitement all season long. The rumor started the way these stories always do, quietly at first. A whisper that felt too strange to be real, and then suddenly it was everywhere. Bouncing from group chats to comment sections, lighting up timelines and making people stop mid-scroll to read it twice. The Baltimore Ravens, a franchise known for doing things their own way and rarely tipping their hand, were suddenly being linked to a surprise reinforcement tied, at least indirectly, to Josh Allen. A name that instantly raises eyebrows across the league. Nobody was talking about a trade straight up. Nobody was brave enough to say that out loud. But the connection alone was enough to cause a reaction. Fans started asking what it really meant. Insiders began choosing their words carefully. And that familiar sense of something big brewing began to settle in. The Ravens have always valued physicality, intelligence, and versatility. And when a rumor surfaces that even mentions a quarterback like Allen in the same breath, it suggests ambition. It suggests a front office that believes the window is wide open, and that subtle moves can shift balance without ever making a loud announcement. This is not about headlines alone. It is about intent, and intent is what people inside the building are allegedly feeling right now. A quiet confidence that the roster is about to look different in a way few expected. What makes this situation feel explosive is not just the idea of a reinforcement arriving, but the timing and the symbolism attached to it. The Ravens are not known for panic moves. So when talk surfaces about a surprise addition, connected to one of the league's most discussed quarterbacks, it feels calculated rather than reactionary. The speculation suggests that Baltimore is looking to adapt, to prepare for battles that are decided not only by schemes, but by matchups against elite talents, like Allen. Whether this reinforcement is a defender built to neutralize mobile quarterbacks, a skilled player who has seen firsthand how Allen's offense stretches defenses, or even a strategic mind brought in to sharpen preparation, the implication is the same. The Ravens are studying their rivals closely and making moves based on lessons learned the hard way around the league. People are saying that this is less about copying and more about countering, about understanding what makes someone like Allen dangerous and building a roster that can survive that chaos. In that sense, the rumor feels very Ravens-like, understated on the surface, but deeply intentional underneath. The kind of move that only makes sense when you zoom out and see the bigger picture they are trying to paint. At the same time, the shock factor doubled when word began to circulate that a veteran presence was being cut loose. To make room, this is where the story stops being just intriguing and starts feeling emotional. Veterans in Baltimore are not just players, they are culture carriers, locker room voices. Guys who have bled for the logo and earned respect the hard way. Cutting one is never simple. And when it happens alongside talk of a surprise reinforcement, it sends a message. Some see it as ruthless efficiency, others as necessary evolution. But nobody sees it as accidental. The rumor mill suggests that the coaching staff and front office had tough conversations, weighing loyalty against the relentless need to stay competitive in a league that does not wait for anyone. The Ravens may have decided that experience alone is not enough if it does not align perfectly with the direction they want to go. The idea of a respected veteran packing up while a fresh, unexpected piece arrives only amplifies the drama, creating that uncomfortable but fascinating tension between past and future that defines so many turning points in franchise history. There is also a strategic layer to this story that fans are only beginning to unpack. If the reinforcement truly has ties to Josh Allen, either through shared systems, past matchups, or direct experience in preparing against him, then this move could be as much about information as it is about talent. Teams are obsessed with tendencies, with habits that only become visible when you study someone up close. Bringing in a player or mind that understands Allen's rhythm, his improvisational instincts, and the way his presence changes defensive behavior could be invaluable. The Ravens have always prided themselves on preparation, on showing up with a plan that feels one step ahead, and this rumor fits that philosophy perfectly. It suggests a franchise that is not content with being good, but wants to be prepared for the very best, for the kind of opponents that force you to adapt or fall behind. In that context, cutting a veteran who maybe no longer fits that specific mission becomes easier to understand, even if it remains painful for fans who value continuity and leadership. As the whispers grew louder, reactions around the league ranged from disbelief to admiration. Some analysts dismissed the talk as classic off-season noise. The kind of rumor designed to fill airtime and spark debate. Others leaned in, noting that Baltimore has a history of moves that look strange until they suddenly make perfect sense on the field. The Josh Allen connection, vague as it is, feels intentional enough to keep people guessing. It invites speculation about future matchups, about chess games between coaching staffs, and about how the Ravens envision their identity evolving. Are they leaning more into speed, into versatility, into players who can handle chaos without losing discipline? Every hint seems to point in that direction. Meanwhile, the veteran cut becomes a symbol of that shift, a reminder that no matter how respected you are, the league is always moving forward, always asking what you can do next rather than what you have done before. The first part of this story ends with more questions than answers, which is exactly why it feels so compelling. The Ravens have not confirmed anything. The names involved remain mostly speculative, and yet the energy around the rumor refuses to die down. Fans argue about whether the move is genius or unnecessary risk, about whether cutting a veteran could hurt chemistry, and about how much impact a surprise reinforcement can really have. But beneath all that noise is a shared understanding that something is happening, that Baltimore is not standing still. The mention of Josh Allen is not accidental, the roster shakeup is not random, and the timing feels too precise to ignore. This feels like the opening chapter of a story that will only make sense later, when the pieces finally come together and everyone looks back and says they should have seen it coming. As the second wave of speculation rolls in, attention shifts from what happened to what it could mean long-term for the Ravens. This is where fans start projecting scenarios, imagining how this surprise reinforcement fits into schemes, rotations, and critical moments. The idea that Baltimore is thinking several steps ahead, potentially gearing up for clashes with quarterbacks who can break structure and force defenses to improvise, adds a layer of excitement. Josh Allen represents that kind of challenge, a player who turns broken plays into explosive moments. If the Ravens are truly bringing in someone shaped by that environment, then the move signals adaptability. It suggests that the team is no longer content to rely solely on its traditional strengths, but wants to evolve in response to how the league itself is changing. That evolution often comes at a cost, and in this case, the cost appears to be a veteran who may no longer align with that future vision. What makes the veteran cut particularly fascinating is the silence surrounding it. There are no dramatic statements, no emotional farewells circulating widely, just a quiet understanding that business has been done. In Baltimore, that kind of silence speaks volumes. It implies respect, but also finality. Insiders hint that the decision was not about a single mistake or decline, but about fit, about how the roster needs to look to execute the plan being built. When you connect that with the idea of a reinforcement linked to Josh Allen's world, it paints a picture of a team optimizing for specific battles rather than general depth. This is not about having the most familiar faces. It is about having the right ones. For fans who value loyalty, that can be a tough pill to swallow. But for those who crave championships, it can feel like necessary sacrifice. The conversation also shifts toward the locker room dynamics, bringing in a surprise piece. While letting go of a veteran inevitably changes the internal balance, new voices emerge, new relationships form, and leadership roles can shift unexpectedly. If the reinforcement arrives with experience against elite competition, especially quarterbacks like Allen, that knowledge can carry weight quickly. Teammates listen to players who have seen the fire up close, who can speak from experience rather than theory. That kind of influence can reshape preparation, habits, film sessions, and even confidence levels. At the same time, losing a veteran removes a stabilizing presence, someone who knew the building, the routines, and the unspoken rules. The Ravens are betting that the upside of the new addition outweighs that loss, a gamble that only makes sense if the front office truly believes this move fills a very specific need. Another angle that keeps resurfacing is how this rumor reflects Baltimore's perception of the competitive landscape. By tying a move, even indirectly, to Josh Allen, the Ravens are acknowledging who they see as benchmarks. They are identifying the type of opponent that defines success or failure in their eyes. This is not about one game or one matchup, but about preparing for a style of football that tests discipline, stamina, and adaptability. The reinforcement becomes a symbol of that preparation, while the veteran cut becomes a sign that sentimentality is taking a back seat. For some fans, this feels cold, but for others, it feels honest. Championships are not built on comfort. They are built on tough decisions made before anyone else realizes they are necessary. As the rumor continues to circulate, the lack of concrete details almost becomes part of its power. Everyone fills in the gaps differently, projecting hopes and fears onto the story. Some imagine a defender who can spy mobile quarterbacks without losing coverage integrity. Others picture a versatile offensive piece who understands how to exploit aggressive defenses. Shaped by Allen's style of play, the truth, whatever it is, remains just out of reach. And that uncertainty fuels engagement. The Ravens, intentionally or not, have created a narrative that keeps everyone talking, dissecting every clue, every hint, every offhand comment from someone connected to the team. By the time this second part reaches its end, the story feels less like a single rumor and more like a reflection of a franchise. At a crossroads, the Ravens appear willing to surprise, willing to let go, and willing to adapt in ways that challenge expectations. The connection to Josh Allen, whether direct or symbolic, amplifies that message, signaling respect for elite talent and a desire to be ready for it. Cutting a veteran underscores the seriousness of that intent, showing that no decision is off limits when the goal is long-term success. Whether this move ultimately pays off or not is something only time will reveal. But one thing is clear, Baltimore is not standing still, and the league is definitely paying attention. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The ripple effects of this rumored move continue to spread, and now the conversation drifts toward how opposing teams might be reacting. Behind closed doors, around the league, front offices are said to be paying close attention whenever Baltimore shifts its roster. With this kind of precision, the idea that the Ravens are aligning themselves, even indirectly, with lessons learned from facing someone like Josh Allen sends a subtle warning. It suggests preparation rooted in respect, not fear, and that distinction matters. Teams that fear elite quarterbacks tend to overcorrect, abandoning their identity. Teams that respect them evolve carefully, keeping their core intact while sharpening the edges. This rumor paints Baltimore as firmly in the second category. The surprise reinforcement becomes less about star power and more about problem solving, about anticipating the hardest questions the season will ask and quietly preparing the answers. In that light, cutting a veteran is framed not as a rejection of the past, but as a recalibration. It is a signal that the Ravens believe the next challenge will not be one with nostalgia, but with precision, flexibility, and a roster built to withstand chaos without losing structure. That mindset alone can shift how rivals prepare for Baltimore, injecting uncertainty where there was once familiarity. There is also an emotional undercurrent that cannot be ignored, especially among fans who have followed this team for years. Veterans often represent eras, memories, and moments that define why people fell in love with a franchise in the first place. Letting one go, even quietly, can feel like closing a chapter before everyone is ready. Yet, rumors like this force a confrontation with reality. The league does not slow down for sentiment, and Baltimore has historically been at its best when it embraces that truth early rather than late. The arrival of a reinforcement tied to Josh Allen's competitive environment almost feels symbolic. Like importing a piece of the future into the present, it challenges fans to adjust their own expectations, to trust that the discomfort of change might be the price of staying relevant. This tension between emotional attachment and competitive necessity is where some of the most important decisions are made, and the Ravens appear comfortable living in that space, even if it means absorbing criticism in the short term. Speculation also extends to how this move could influence the Ravens' internal hierarchy. Leadership in professional football is fluid, shaped as much by circumstance as by tenure. With a veteran gone, opportunities emerge for others to step forward, to fill that void with new energy or a different voice. If the incoming reinforcement carries experience, shaped by battles against quarterbacks like Josh Allen, that perspective can quickly earn respect. Players listen when someone speaks from experience, when advice is backed by scars rather than theory. That kind of influence can subtly reshape how a team prepares, how it responds to adversity, and how confident it feels when facing elite competition. The Ravens have long valued accountability and mental toughness, and this rumor suggests they are reinforcing those values in a very specific way by choosing evolution over comfort. They are betting that leadership can be redistributed rather than lost. That culture is strong enough to absorb change without fracturing. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.